Welcome to the Bodybuilding Banter podcast, your number one source of all things bodybuilding. Be sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date on future episodes. Now, here's your host, Leroy Rollins.
All right, brother. Introduce yourself to the folks. Tell them what you're all about, where you are, what you do, and we'll dive on in.
Yeah, so I'm Jordan Cabral. I'm a natural bodybuilder, just more by hobby, but by passion. And I just by trade, what I do, I'm a building automation specialist. So think of your smart home, but for like offices, libraries, stuff like that. So large scale construction kind of thing.
Right.
So I do that. I was an electrical engineering graduate at McMaster in Hamilton. And that's what I do. And yeah, then this whole natural bodybuilding thing, competitively at least, started for me. I want to say it was King Kong Classic in 2018,
Okay.
I think it was. So that was my first show, and then, just tried it, just kind of out of nowhere. I never really had any aspirations of competing, and then one day came back from vacation and then told my wife, I'm going to hire a coach, and then it just kicked on from there.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. So did you have any, I guess, like pre-existing knowledge or passion about bodybuilding before competing?
Oh yeah. I think it definitely did start from my dad. My dad, he's a natural bodybuilder, and he's been bodybuilding ever since before I was born. And he's told me stories about how even as a baby, when there was no childcare at the gym at the time, you could get away with these things.
Yeah.
He had to take care of me while my mom was at work, so he would take me in my little carrying
That's awesome.
thing, and he would take me to the gym and just kind of put me off to the side while he would do his sets, and then like bring me around and
That's sweet.
and then they actually got childcare, and then I eventually I ended up going to that gym. And I was there for God knows how long. It was like a good 9-10 years before eventually it closed down, unfortunately. And then, I moved to another place. And so I've been training for around, I want to say, 11 years. I think it's been 11, 12.
How old are you now?
How many of those years were the most productive training, that evidence-based training? Probably not the most, as much as I would like, at least, but you live and you learn. And
for sure.
Kind of competing, I saw my dad compete that I can remember, I think like once or twice, but he's competed more than that, and he's actually considering doing masters now.
Right on.
Getting that itch again now that he's seen me compete.
For sure.
And so it's kind of always been around, and it's kind of always been a thing. And it's only until recently where I decided to, you know what, let's try to do this competitively. And
Right on, man. How old are you now?
I am 27.
Okay. So you've been training into your teens for sure. Yeah, that's funny what you say. Like, I think we all started that way. Most of my, I guess, like circle in bodybuilding, you could say, that I'm like tight with is kind of our age group between like 25 and 30 is there's a big core of people that I talk to on a regular basis, right? And that's how we all started. We all started in our teens doing random stuff because we didn't know any better, but we got results, we made progress, we loved it. And then as we got older and more knowledge and more information came out, obviously, then we fine-tuned things for sure. But 10 years of training and maybe like 3 or 4 of like really good, knowledgeable training, right?
Yeah. I was kind of lucky because my dad still, like, he knew like a decent amount about, training. It was more like, I think it was more the diet portion, um, I did like a bro split back in the day, and which was great. I still made gains on it, and
Yep.
um, I think what really held me back at the beginning was the diet portion, like because I wasn't really like, my dad never outlined a diet for me or anything. He outlined a training program, and he looked, he made sure my form was okay and everything, so that part was fine. It's just like, learning more the intricacies of like macros and all that stuff only came a bit later when I did my own, research.
Yep. Awesome. So,
Yeah.
how was the first prep for the King Kong?
First prep was difficult, as all first preps seem to be.
Yep.
I hired a local coach that trained a few guys at my old gym, um, just because I figured he was local, his clients got in shape,
Mm-hmm.
seemed like he knew what he was doing. He was a nice guy, and it went well. It was as much as you try to know ahead of time what it's going to be like, it's
No.
always
Yeah.
you know
No. You can never
it's
know.
it's always way different. It's
Yep.
always way different, and you don't. Nothing really prepares you for the feelings that you feel like psychologically, physiologically. Like nothing really prepares you for that, even though you can kind of know from other people's experiences what it's like. It was totally different, and nothing
Yep.
prepares you for like being told that you have to wake up at like 4 a.m. to get your tan, and you're just like, okay, I
Yeah.
guess this is what we're doing now.
Yeah.
But like, stuff like that, little things that nothing really prepares you for. But overall, it went really well. I was surprised with how well I did, and surprisingly, like it never even crossed my mind, but like, I qualified for nationals
Mm-hmm.
through it,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I kind of just snowballed from there.
Right on. So you went to nationals then 2019, that following year?
Yeah, yeah. So I did the King Kong in November the year before.
Yep.
I got third in my class, and then I went to nationals in August, and I got second in my class at nationals, behind I can't. He was from Korea, and he ended up winning the pro card in bodybuilding.
Oh,
So he won
really?
my class in classic. He won my class, and arguably he probably could have won the classic pro card, but I doubt that they wanted to give him
Yeah.
one for both.
Yeah.
Um, and he ended up winning the bodybuilding. So I didn't feel so bad,
Yeah,
because
for
like coming
sure.
second to like, and he was amazing. So like I had no illusions of like bodybuilding politics. I'm just like, dude was better.
Yeah.
Like that's just,
That's
this
good.
is my second show. I'm just happy to be here. So
Yeah. So between
yeah,
November and it would have been July,
August.
July,
Yeah,
August.
July, August. It's
So
like July 31st, August 1st.
did you like reverse out of it or did you like gain a shit ton of
Yeah, we had
weight? What was your process there?
yeah, we had a since we had such a small timeline to work with, it wasn't really a reverse. We're kind of just like, okay, we have short time, short off season, not as much as I would like. I can't remember how many months it was, but we, we had a short off season, tried to, bring up the weak points, mostly my legs, which still is a focus of mine.
Right.
And yeah, so it was just a short off season, and then back into prep, because I mean it's kind of difficult to like do much, going from November show to August show. It's a weird in the in between timeline. Like you don't have
Yeah.
enough for a full blown off season,
Yeah.
but you try to do what you can. And from the pictures I've compared, I feel like I made a decent progress with the little time I had. So
Nice.
it is what it is.
How did you handle like dieting for so long? Because you would have dieted before November and then all the way through to August. Like that's a good chunk of time.
Yeah, I don't know. I've like it wasn't my first diet, so like I cut down many times before. Mind you, I never really cut down to that level.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I guess after doing it the first time, I kind of have a good sense of like flipping that switch in my head to be like, okay, we're gaining now or we're in prep now. Like
Yep.
once I make that decision and once that's in my head, it's done. It's like,
Yep.
you know, there are always going to be troubles and things that happen, but I mean that's more small. It's not really something that is difficult for me, and I think that's why I enjoy this all so much.
Nice, nice. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You're working with Cliff now, yes?
Yes. Yes.
So
I just started with him on this this prep.
nice. So what prompted that decision? How was that all set up, and how's everything going?
Yeah, so it's like I said, it's kind of been snowballing as, you know, when I first started competing. And when I first started competing, I wasn't really following like the natural bodybuilding scene that much. Like I knew of some guys,
Yep.
you know, like at the beginning, all I knew in the natural bodybuilding scene was like, you know, your Matt Ogus and like those kind of guys that we all
Yep.
knew because of, you know, YouTube.
Yep.
But then, you know, I've been getting more and more into listening to podcasts and, you know, following like pros in the WNBF and like
Yep.
different other natural organizations. And, you know, you kind of be like, okay, who are the big coaches that like people usually turn to? And
Mhm.
I kind of got more exposed to all the different guys and just kind of did my research.
Yep.
Figured, you know, these like podcasts these days are great for that because
Oh, for sure.
they have all these big coaches on there. You get a good idea of what is their philosophy around things. How do they like what are their ideas regarding training and diet and, you know, and through that I kind of just like eventually narrowed it down to like Cliff.
Yep.
And I sent him a message. Like I kind of already I had that in mind ahead of time, so I made sure this off season was like damn good, like as good as I could make it, and
Right.
that I wasn't, you know, letting myself go too much. And then I figured I was like, okay, this seems like a good point to message him. Shot him a message, filled out a form, and yeah, and from there, you know, we started working together, and it's been great so far.
Nice, nice. So with him, do you check in like weekly with him? Is it, you know, bi-weekly? How do you kind of structure that with right now? Yeah.
Right now it's weekly, yeah.
Yeah, because you're still planning to do the pro qualifier when it gets announced.
Yeah, so the plan, I know, the plans are, so it probably will end up being the Ben Weider first now because it seems like the pro qualifier is moved to later
Yeah,
in the year, I
yeah.
believe.
From what I know, it's going to be after the King Kong's the last one of the season, which is in November, like second week of November. So from what I've heard, it's supposed to be either the last week of November or the first week of December.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's probably going to be the Ben Weider Naturals in September, mid-September, assuming that still is okay.
Yep.
First, and then it'll be the pro qualifier.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Have you looked into any WMBF shows?
I have, and yeah, I know there are some now like in New York, like you wanted to go into.
Yep.
Because I was kind of interested in it. I just never knew which shows like were actually within range to do.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm definitely interested. It's, you know, it's kind of something, especially because I know getting your pro card through the CPA and the IFBB naturally is, I mean, it's great, and it's something I definitely want to do more as a personal achievement. But realistically, how far can you go with that?
Yeah, as a competitor, it doesn't do much for you, right? Like, yeah, it's cool to
not
have. Yeah, like it'll be cool to have like IFBB Pro in your Instagram bio. Like everybody would be like, ooh. But as far as like actually progressing as an athlete, that's 100% my whole mindset towards it all too. Like if I get a pro card in bodybuilding, like somehow, am I going to go in the 212 class because that's all they have? Like, no, I'm going to we're destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they're making steps forward with the Ben Weider Naturals. Like they're starting, like it's only one, but I mean, at least there is a natural pro show. They could, you know, probably step it up in terms of like testing and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Of course,
100%. And that's my biggest gripe.
There's always improvements. I mean, even in the WNBF, like people are always going to scrutinize testing no matter how good you make it. But yeah, it's a step, and I think they're seeing that there is an audience for this, and
Yeah.
but it's still in its early stages, and I think that's what kind of sucks about where we're at. But I mean, it'd be nice to get that IFBB Pro card to be like, to realize that dream, and also pursue the WNBF. That would be cool. I just wish that there was more shows around here, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm actually working on getting one myself.
Yep.
Because in Canada, anyways, for anybody that's listening, so me and this guy are in Ontario, which is central Canada. Right now, anyways, all the WMBF shows are out west, which is like an 8-hour plane ride, or no, 4 or 5 hour plane ride, but it's like $8,000 or $1,000 to pay for it. Whereas we can drive down to upstate New York, for example, drive the 3-4 hours, and then you're there, and you are doing it in a fraction of the cost. But I've actually reached out to the WMBF Canada and am in the works of getting a show here in Ontario, probably either where I am in Kingston or maybe a little bit closer to Toronto. So trying to do that for next fall is the goal. So keep your eyes out.
Yeah, that would be great. I wonder why, because it's like Ontario especially, it's one of the most population dense. Like this is where like a ton of competitors are. I'm surprised they never really penetrated like Ontario like sooner. I don't know if maybe they did in the past and it kind of wasn't as popular as they wanted it to be, or I wonder what's going on there.
So Charlotte King is her name. Her and it's her husband, I believe, are like the head honchos at WMBF Canada. And I spoke with them on the phone probably like almost half an hour. We had a conversation about this, and she said that it's just a matter of like they didn't have or couldn't find the right person to like help promote it or put the effort in, right? Because they're all the way out west, right? So to do everything remotely is very challenging. So she said, like, we've had a couple people come up to us in the past, and I've approached them before, but it just never went anywhere. And they probably like saw my name pop up again, and we're like, okay, like he's probably pretty serious about it if he keeps messaging us, right? So, they've sent me kind of the whole like pamphlet booklet on how to run a show. Step 1, find a venue. Step 2, start marketing. Step 3, promote it, get some athletes, like the whole kit and caboodle. So obviously things have been put on hold with what we're going through in the world right now, but we're already working on getting like at least a little bit of like promotional material doing up. So like, coming soon, Ontario, blah, 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 like getting some buzz, and then hopefully we can make it something pretty special and do it regularly instead of just a one-off. Yeah.
And that's very exciting. It'd be nice to see it grow, and there'll be multiple shows around here, just like there is with the CPA.
Yeah.
It's definitely it's nice because there's room for progression. Like there's worlds, and like there's natural pro shows, like multiple of them, and you can really test yourself. Mind you, I wish ideally that there was like, it was narrowed down a little bit in terms of organizations to begin with, because it seems like it's a little bit fragmented in the natural scene from what I've seen. Just like, it'd be nice to see a show where like the best guys from all the different organizations could face each other.
Yeah.
Because like, you and I've seen like so many of like the top guys in each fed, and I would be like, I want to see them, fight it out amongst each other.
Yeah,
it'd be nice to see that. But yeah, definitely excited to see where it could go if there's some shows around here. so I don't have to spend thousands of dollars just so I can,
Yep.
get broke so I can compete once.
Yeah, yeah. No, and I think that's probably part of the reason why there's not a lot of Canadian presence. I mean, locally, really, it's the CPA or nothing. That's kind of the attitude, and I'm really
I don't blame them.
that's all most people know. Like when people saw me go down to the States to compete, they're like, "Oh, was that an NPC show?" or "Oh, blah blah." Like people have no idea, and that's like literally my mission to change that. That's why I'm doing so much, like from a competitive standpoint, coaching, the podcast, the news that we're doing now, like trying to really kind of bring this all together because, like you said earlier, I think there's an audience for this, and I think people are really starting to love natural bodybuilding. People see, like when I show people some of the pros that I follow and that I look up to, they're like, whoa. I'm like, yeah, like it can be done. It's just on a smaller scale. Like the guys aren't 280 pounds, they're a $190, but they're insane and they're natural and they're healthy and they're not gonna, fall off the stage and collapse because their bodies are messed up. You know what I mean? Which like I think the general population would look at that and be like, oh, that's cool. Like I can get behind that. Like I know my parents, if I show them pictures of like, I don't know, take Brandon Curry, right? Last year's Mr. Olympia. Like if I show my parents a photo of him, they're like, no, like that doesn't do anything for me. But if I show them a photo of like, I don't know, like even like take someone like Jeff Alberts, like 3DMJ, who's like, well into like his later years of competing and the way he looks, like my parents can look at that and be like, damn, like that's impressive, right? And he's not huge, right? Like he's, I don't know what he gets down to for his stage weight, maybe like 170, 175.
Probably.
Yeah, which is like, that's not a huge dude, but just an amazing physique, right? So I'm hoping that, we can really bring some light to the natural world, especially like in Canada, because it's not as well known. Like over in the UK, where natural bodybuilding's the kingpin over in the UK, it seems like they all have it figured out over there. Whereas here,
Yeah, it's crazy. It seems like the more I've looked into it, the more it seems like there's a huge presence like in natural bodybuilding in the UK. I don't know why that is, but I think it'll just take some time, but I feel like it could get to that point here. It's I think it's like I said, like with it's not hasn't even been the WMBF hasn't been in Ontario yet, and that's a huge market.
yeah,
And I feel like it's hard because of the way Canada's laid out. You kind of have to have a lot of shows everywhere in order to get people from everywhere to go. It's not like you can have one show centrally and have everyone come to it.
Yeah.
So I guess there's some logistical challenges there, but I mean, it seems like it's on the up, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, like when I told them where I was, because I'm basically like I'm almost like the halfway point between Toronto and Ottawa.
Yeah.
And then from like say New York, then if someone wanted to come up here and compete, it's still only like a 2-3 hour drive from upstate New York. Yeah. So they were really, they perked their ears up when they heard that, just because of how dense the population is, but then B, how dense the bodybuilding population would be. Like there's no reason Ontario couldn't have like the biggest show.
Oh, for sure.
Because of the people.
Yeah.
I mean, here in Kingston alone, like if there was a show locally, it'd probably draw 50 or 60 competitors from one city.
Oh, for sure.
Because travel's half the battle.
I know that's like a huge thing why I loved competing at the King Kong and nationals and everything, because I live in Mississauga, so
you're right there.
I'm really close to Toronto, so I can, especially for nationals, for example. Nationals was like a 2-day thing, so there's day one, then day two. After day one, I drove home, slept in my own bed.
Nice.
And woke up on and it wasn't like a whole big thing. Like it's like doing the whole hotel thing. It's okay, but it's like nothing beats like after if you have to compete the next day, like going home,
Oh
sleeping in
yeah.
your own bed, relaxing in your own house.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It's just you're familiar with it. Everything is good. So like, it's all in my backyard, so it's easy to compete here because I could just do like a half-hour drive and I'm at the venue, and I'm just like, that's cool.
Yeah, it's
Um,
perfect.
but yeah, it's always nice to have shows closer to you that you don't have to worry about flying and everything that brings, and
Yeah.
um, all the money that comes with it too. But yeah.
For sure. So moving forward, dude, what are your plans? Like, what are you hoping to achieve? Not only like in general within the sport, but this year, if everything goes, in the fall, things clear up, everything goes as planned. What are you hoping to achieve?
Well, the plans are to get my IFBB Pro card naturally, whether that's in the Ben Weeder or the Natural Pro Qualifier. Um, that would be amazing. I, that'd be a huge dream of mine. And even though I know, like, I have no illusions of like what I could do with it, I feel like it would be, it would just be a big, like a huge thing, especially because like you and I both know there's guys like, and I could see it with my own eyes. I'm just like,
Yeah.
some of the guys, I'm just like, really, really is
Just because you're
sure,
just because you're natural today doesn't mean you're natural. Just
yeah.
because you passed the
Which
test.
which kind of I would lie if I said like beating guys like that kind of like gives you that personal pride because you're not like
Yeah.
cheating the system like that, and you're doing it the right way, and that's kind of a sense of accomplishment in and of itself. um, but you know you just have to be careful of not making your whole purpose about beating guys like that, because
Yeah.
I feel like that's motivation for things. But that's the goal, to get that pro card naturally, and I feel like that's a cool, like, that's what we all wanted as when we were young coming up. You look
Yep.
at the IFBB and like that's the standard because that's what right?
Yep. For
Um,
sure.
but then even past then, eventually getting a WNBF pro card, now that would be cool. Maybe not as cool to your like friends,
Yeah.
that because you know it's not in their head, maybe not even in their head at all.
Yep.
But you know, that's definitely something that would be really cool
So you
for the
intend
friend.
to stay natural then is the
Yeah,
answer to that.
I don't see why not. Like, I feel like a lot of, like, I mean, I would lie if I didn't say that like the thought crossed my head, that like, what if you crossed over, right?
Yep.
Because like, you know, you get to a point like naturally where obviously everything slows down, and that's just you know the reality of things. But I realize, like I look, like for me at least, I'm like I look pretty damn good, and I know I still have progress in me. Um, Mind you, you have to be more diligent and more intentional about everything that you do,
Yep.
the further along you get into it. But I feel like, you know, there's a lot of guys who don't really realize how good they can look naturally because they don't give it the time, and they don't give it the effort, because everyone wants things now. So
Yep.
if you don't look like a Greek god in like a year or two,
What
it's
are you
too
doing?
slow.
Yep. For sure.
But yeah, I feel like because I get not accusations, I get like assumptions of people thinking I'm on something all the time, and you know I'm just like, if I could look like this naturally, why if I'm gonna gain another like 20 pounds of muscle, I mean, which would be cool. It'd
Yeah.
be cool to see what it'd look like. You know, is it really worth it if I'm not making, if I don't want to win the Olympia? Like,
Yep.
I don't know. But yeah, it's seeing, especially like I take great inspiration from my dad. My dad's like 55, and he was actually going to compete in the Coburg Classic this year, and then with the intention of competing in nationals and stuff like that. And I've seen what he looks like, and he's holding like pretty good condition even despite all this. And
Wow.
I'm like, he could like do really well and like probably win master shows. Like I'm not even exaggerating. Like
That's
I
awesome.
know he has that capability and that drive, and that's where I get it from. And like if he could look like that at 55,
Yep.
naturally, I'm just like why would you want anything else? I don't know. I feel like people just don't give it enough time, and like he's been training since he was like 18.
Yeah.
So
So it's years.
he hasn't stopped.
Yep.
So like I have that, I get that same drive from him, and I'm like, you know, it's all there. Like if I could look like that at 55 and still do everything I want to do, then like, you know, why cross over? It just seems like a lot of risk that like, you know, if you could look great naturally, why risk it?
Yeah, it's one of those things where you got to be right. Like if you're gonna make that decision, you got to be like 100% because you can't change it, right? Like, and that's like you could stop. You know, I mean, like you could do it once and be like, nope, this isn't for me, and move on with your life. But like, you know, for us, for example, like if you want to compete in the WMBF, anyways, it's 10 years minimum. So then,
Yep.
you know, are you gonna just stay where you are you gonna just do open shows now because you've taken stuff? And like that's like it doesn't just stop when you stop taking anything, right? Like there's definitely
Yeah.
some follow-up to that.
Oh yeah, and I think I feel like part of like the decision to like not cross over is also like has also come with age. Like it's something that like I feel like a lot of guys that get into it are young.
Yep.
And I mean, like, if they decide that they want to compete, you know, if they want to win the Olympia or they want to compete at that level, like when they're young, that's kind of like what you have to do. But I find like putting that decision off and, you know, really thinking about it as I've gotten older and like, because now I'm married and now like, you know, the possibility of having kids is like relatively soon and
Yep.
all those things. And like, there's a lot more going on in my life that's, you know, my decisions, you know, affect a lot of things down the line. And, you know, I feel like a lot of kids, when they're making that decision, they're like, oh, you know, I'll never get married or I'll never have kids or I'll
Yep.
never do this, I'll never do that. But like, and then you get to that age, you're like, well,
Here I
it
am.
seems like I actually want that now. And,
Yeah.
and, you know, there's instances of guys that compete, you know, in the IFBB that have had children and stuff like that. When, I mean, there's still always a risk, right? There's always a risk of everything. And sure, you could be the exception to that rule, but what if you aren't? And, you know, there's a lot of things to consider. And there's a lot of like, you know, because it's a big decision. And I feel like a lot of people minimize that and they just do it not thinking of all the consequences, and they all look at the good sides and they don't look at the downsides. And yeah, I feel like with maturity and with age, like, you know, that decision making process and like weighing the pros and cons,
Mm-hmm.
you know, has caused me to, you know, get to this point where I'm like, you know what, there is a natural route to do this. And I'm glad we're at the time that we're at now, because like back in the day, was
Yeah.
there really any like natural like route?
Yeah.
Like was there any WMBF that you can compete in? No. So like back in the day, you pretty much had no choice if you wanted to compete. That's like
Yep.
what you had to do because, you know, to get anywhere. But nowadays, we're in a time where like you can stay natural and you can actually, you know, compete at a high level like that. So I think we're at a good point and there's still a lot of room to grow. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. No, I agree with everything you said, and I think that's a good mentality to have for sure. And I hope a lot of people listening to this kind of take that into heart, especially if they are a little bit younger and maybe on the verge of making that call or not, to just maybe step back, you know, really analyze your goals, what you want out of it, because it's a big decision, right?
It is. And it might not seem like it at the time,
Yep.
you know. And then like you read enough about like guys who like started and like 2 weeks later they just like didn't want it anymore, or
Yeah.
like you hear enough. You have to hear from both perspectives, and like there are obviously plenty of people who were fine, like who started it, loved it, and still love it like years later. But I mean, you have to hear both sides of it, and I mean that comes with any big decision you make, really.
Yep.
If all you hear is fairy tales and like
Yeah.
amazing
Sunshine and rainbows.
then obviously, yeah, then obviously it's going to seem like it's the best thing ever. But like, you have to hear the good and the bad, and it's it might not seem like it's decisions like that affect you down the line, but it does. And I mean, you have to be comfortable with that because it's a lifelong decision.
Yep.
It's it just doesn't affect you in that moment. It'll if you keep going with it, it's going to affect your life when you're 30, 40, 50, who knows?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that comes down with any huge life decision, really. That's,
For sure.
That's just one of those decisions that you have to make. And I mean, yeah, you just have to weigh the pros and the cons. Decisions have more of an effect than just what's going to happen tomorrow or next week.
Yep.
But yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Yeah, this was great. It was my first podcast ever. So,
success.
Yeah. So I listen to plenty all the time.
Yeah.
It's great listening at work and everything. But yeah, finally been on one, and
right on.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
Cool, man. Plug your Instagram and stuff. Where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on. I use Instagram the most. Guy from Crowd, super old reference that most people probably wouldn't get, but
fair enough.
Yeah, you can find me there. Kind of post a mix of life things and bodybuilding things, and try to be a bit more interesting than posting bodybuilding photos every day. But yeah, you can find me on there, and yeah, and we'll see where things go with this whole bodybuilding thing for me. But
cool.
Definitely super excited.
Awesome. So yeah, give him a follow. His Instagram will be linked down below, so you got easy access to give him a follow and show him some love. So thanks again, man. I appreciate your time, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks for everybody for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.